Welcome, welcome, welcome to another book launch party from Rock the Stage Media. I'm your host, Rich Bontrager. The Trigger will be with you for 90 minutes today, bringing you live from Sarasota, Florida, the Women Gone Wild book launch. This is part 2 of their American tour. We'll talk a little bit about that coming up here in a few moments. But over the next hour and a half, we'll be going deeper into hearing about. There's 25 different women involved with an amazing new book. It's the second book in the Women Gone Wild series. We don't have time for all 25, but we do have a select few that are going to beam in and share some of their story and talk about this book. It's all about intuition. So you don't want to miss it. Join in on the live chat, drop in some questions, show some love, give some emojis. But we're going to kick this whole thing off with Rhonda Swan, who is the founder and the visionary force behind the impact of Women Gone Wild, the entire book series. There's going to be 4 books in the book series. This is book number 2. She's an acclaimed Forbes magazine. This Forbes magazine has called this book Chicken Soup for Women's Empowerment. And remember, Chicken Soup, that was a powerful book series. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring Rhonda Swan in live from Sarasota, Florida.
We'll see these ladies in a minute.
Wild women.
Rich, how are you?
I'm doing fabulous. How are you doing on book tour
book stop number 2? We're really great actually, because we just left the most intense 5 days in New York City, Times Square billboards, photo shoots and covers for Glamour magazine, My New York magazine. We were on Pix 11 news channel. Like, it was so intense. So we came to Florida, Sarasota, Siesta Key for a little bit of more relaxed time for this tour before we head over to LA on Friday.
So let me ask you, you're doing a 4-book series. The acronym is WILD. What do they stand for?
Yeah. So Women Gone Wild actually started in 2020. It was one of those visions where I was sitting there with a number of my my clients. We were building their brand. I own a branding and PR firm. So we were building their brand, doing their photo shoots, getting them prepared. And we were sitting there, we're like, wow, why don't more women do this and share best practices and share each other's, the best work that we do. And we're all like, gosh, all of us had come from corporate. And I retired from corporate over 18 years ago. And we said, gosh, we need to do this more. And I'm like, why don't we write a book? Given what I already do in PR and media and publishing, we'll write the book. I'll do the PR for it. You share your stories. And you know what? The first book did really well. We were in Amazon. We did a lot of these #1 bestseller categories. And so we were like, okay, we felt really good about it. And then lo and behold, COVID hit. And I was, I would live in Bali, Indonesia, and I got really severely infected. And I got rushed to the hospital, literally rushed an emergency surgery. And I actually didn't think I was going to wake up. So I had this near-death experience. I was saying goodbye to my family. At that time, Bali didn't have a lot of the best antibiotics. So some people were literally not being saved given the circumstances they were in. But you know what? I woke up. I was in the hospital and I had this moment. And I don't know if anyone's ever heard of this before, but I was visited and greeted by spirits. And oddly enough, these were women spirits, like witches, women that burned at the stake, suppressed voices. And if I sit here right now, I can see their faces, and they were like coming at me, right? And I was in the hospital room, and all of a sudden it was like, I'm awake, I'm alive. And this message was, we need more of you. We need you to support more women. We need your voice stronger. And I'm thinking, my goodness, I have a loud voice. I already use it a lot. It was like, no, if you come back, we need more. And it was like this instant download idea. We're going to do the WILD series. And the WILD stands for wealth, which is a woman that embraces integral wealth and redefines the meaning of wealth, not just money, but redefines the meaning. And that launched actually last year. Yep. Intuition launches right now, and then leadership and diversity. And that's the whole WILD series. And here we are. And now we've had 2 amazing launches. Last year rocked it. This year we're really rocking it. We're already hitting numbers for not only Amazon, but one of our favorites is Barnes & Noble. We've got some big signings. We're already topping the numbers right now on Barnes & Noble. We're in the top 100 books of all times on Barnes & Noble and in Amazon right now, just in the first 5 days. Well, we're pushing hard.
Well, and you're in Sarasota right now. You're going to wind up June 26th in Los Angeles, California, at a noble. So you got it all planned out, don't you?
Oh yeah, every single day we have something planned. Tonight we have a very beautiful networking event and book signing at the Wine Bar in Siesta Key. We're also in partnership with 40 Carats Charities. So we're supporting not only women and children in the Manitoba region. We're doing big donations. We've got about 100 people going to be there tonight. And then we have another Barnes & Noble signing on the 20th in Tampa. And then heading on over to LA, and then we go really hard in LA. We've got a full schedule in LA as well.
So we're going to talk about intuition for the next 90 minutes. You wrote a chapter on the book, The Path Between Intuition and Logic. Can you give us just a little tidbit without giving it all away? What the heck is all that all
Yeah,
about?
absolutely. Well, intuition, certainly it's everyone feels it differently. Some feel it in their gut, some feel it in their heart, some feel it in their body. And for me, I realized, like, my family's American Indian, and my grandmother used to say, just listen to your internal guidance. Listen to your internal guidance. Well, as I grew up, I wanted to be farthest away from this American Indian tradition, and I wanted to go corporate, right? So I went super sideways and went corporate. And what happened is I stopped really listening to my internal guidance, and I started more so leaning onto my logic. And right? A lot of us do that, right? We get, especially right now, environmentally, so much is going on in our world that we're not taking the time to stop. And when that hit comes, whether it's in the gut or whether it's in the heart, and you feel something, often I was ignoring it. And I found myself going down different tracks that really weren't fully serving me. And even though I knew, like, I would go after something poorly would happen, I'd go, I knew it. I knew it. And after doing that about 4 to 5 times, I realized that knew it meant I'm not listening to myself. And so my story is about how we at times will ignore that internal guidance, that feeling, that gut feeling, and we start allowing and talking ourselves out of it because our logic steps in the way.
So just so everyone's aware, you can get a hold of the book. I'm going to bring it up on the screen right now. Hit the QR code. We are going to have that back later on, but you can get the book right now. Hit that, go right to a landing page, order the copy of this intuition book, and then dive deeper into it, because it is a fascinating topic. And it's interesting. I did another show recently on this very same topic. I think people are becoming more aware of listening to the inner voice, getting the guidance, and believing that it's good stuff, aren't they?
Absolutely. And that's really, I think, where now the more we can stop and listen, the more connected we find that we are to not only source, but messages, healing of our body, listening, making decisions. And this is really why our book series is so important, because first off, it's really in support. It's a call to women to come together, and it inspires not just women, but inspires then now our next generations, the men in our life, to say, hey, let's come together and talk about what's going on in our life. Let's share where we want to go and our visions are. And the beauty of it, I know we're going to bring this special lady out very shortly, is why Forbes called us the chicken soup of women empowerment, is because the amazing Diana Wentworth, who's also one of the authors, Chicken Soup sold 589 million copies to date, right? That means that short stories, people want to read them. They want to connect with them. They want to learn from them. And what we found is there wasn't enough women that were coming together and really vulnerably sharing what they not only believe in, but what is happening in their life. And this is a call to arms with all women, saying, hey, you can find yourself in our stories. And I think that's what's really taking place and why it's taken off so big.
Well, since you did so well, Diana Wentworth wrote the foreword for this book on intuition, New York Best Time seller, the author, speaker, founder of Inside Edge Foundation of Education. You can learn more about her, by the way, at dianawentworth.com. A dear friend, we love her. We really do. Diana Wentworth, great to see you again.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
So tell me, how did you get sucked in the Women Gone Wild and being
How'd you get sucked in?
forward writer on this?
I did get sucked in, you wild woman. When I agreed to write the foreword for this book, I had no idea how wild this ride was going to be.
True.
I'm an 83-year-old woman, Richard, and I'm a woman who's had it all. I've had success and romance. And now, thanks to the unstoppable Rhonda Swan, I've seen my name in lights over Times Square. And our New York launch of the book was amazing. And I just love watching her because her dedication and her focus is just so astonishing. This was her dream. This was her brainchild. And I love how she deals with sudden shifts. You know, I freak out and she just handles things. So,
Well, but let me jump in here because I know for a fact that you've started a new adventure. And you and I have talked about this, but was that part intuition? Was that part of your gut, your soul and inner voice saying, go for it?
always, always. I was widowed just about 3 years ago. And when that happened, I realized that for the first time, I was not accommodating somebody else's personality, which I loved. I adored both my husbands, but it was time for me to find my own sovereignty. And that's a word that's not used often enough, I believe, because women have an inner sanctum and an inner sovereignty where they just know their brains operate in a different way, and they have a sense of intuition. They have an inner knowing that they can consult. So my inner knowing said, okay, the wildest thing I can do right now in my life is let go of 90% of my stuff, sell my condo, and just become a joyful gypsy. So it just happens that I'm moving into a new place with my daughter this week. And I've just come back, and I'm so filled with energy and the wildness of this whole movement that Rhonda has launched, that my life is just absolutely amazing now. And
So-
I listen all the time for my inner voice. I ask quantum questions. Now, this is the biggest thing I can share with anybody, because when you ask a question that is just loaded with the feelings that you want and the results that you want.
Yeah.
When I wake up in the morning, I say, how can I most lovingly and devotedly serve this world, just light this world up? And then I notice that the endorphins are going, and all sorts of intuition and feelings and ideas and downloads are just pouring into me.
So when you got asked to write the foreword to this, and with all that going on in your mind, what did you want to say in the beginning of the book to set it all up?
I wanted to just really do the best I could, because the stories in this book are so amazing. Women just taking the time and looking back on their life and sensing how their inner knowing just led them into the best part of their lives. I think this is the greatest thing we can do, is for women to start sharing this more and more, so that there's more and more of it happening.
Well, and is it partly your goal, and the rest of the authors, 25 authors in this book, is it partly the goal is to break the myth of the woo-woo feeling and more
for
into
sure.
the mainstream of believe it, claim
Yes.
it, own that inner thought?
Thank you, Richard, because it needs to go mainstream. It's really, Sri Aurobindo, who was a wise man, said, if there's to be a future, it will wear a crown of feminine design. And there's that sovereignty again. It really is time for women who care so much about nurturing and care so much about creativity and having people around them, their families and so on, bringing them together around the table to talk just deeply. It's so important right now.
Diana Wentworth, taking a few moments to drop in here. Rhonda, when you hear her say all that, what do you feel right now as we kick off the book launch and hear that from?
Yeah, and I adore Diana so dearly, and it warms my heart, because I think it's true, is that the more that we are speaking up, I mean, we're not bra burners, right? We are literally women that are saying, look, we need to rise together. We love our men, we love our partners. However, we all do things in such a different way. And I do love this blend of this book. These books are like a fondue blend of amazing women that are sharing their voice in a very different way and coming together. And no matter how old we are, because we literally have generations from 17 years old all the way to 83. Every single generation, we have 8 generations in just this book alone. That to me is so beautiful. So I love listening to Diana and just hearing the way she shares it, because it means that we are moving towards the right direction.
Diana, thanks for dropping in for the kickoff here of the book launch party.
Mhm.
Always a joy. Now we're going to move on to another one of your amazing authors here, and Penny Pierce. The Most Magical Thing of Life is the chapter she wrote. Penny is an international respected clairvoyant empath, visionary, an author, a popular lecturer and trainer. Penny advises and coaches businesses and government leaders, celebrities, and those on a spiritual path about the hidden dynamics of what makes for a true success. Let's bring her right in right away. Penny, thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Hey,
So-
Penny.
So you're hearing the beginning of all this. You've written the chapter. What do you think of this is beginning to unfold for you? Did you ever think it would be this wild of a ride?
No, I was never into heavy duty marketing. I always kind of had this inner sense that if I held the right energy, that people with that energy would find me. And later I wrote a book on this called Frequency, when energy stuff started coming in. But I used to put a lighthouse up above my bed while I went to sleep and have the light go around and around and around. And I would say, anybody who needs me, here I am. You can find me through, the higher realms. And they showed up, And so I have worked a lot with the power of the inner realms to create the physical realm.
Well, you in this chapter talk about embracing spontaneity, playfulness, intuition, and it will lead to personal empowerment. Now, most people don't think about playfulness and empowerment, but you do. Why?
I find that self-entertainment is a very high state. And because it's kind of like you're locating the source of creativity within, and it radiates out, and you share it, and you're not in a struggle. Any of those kind of negative states where you don't believe that the flow is working, it just stops the flow of intuition, which to me, after so many years of working with it, intuition is the doorway for the soul to come through into the body, the emotions, and the mind.
You also talk about creativity in this chapter as well. And I love creative people. I just love being in a room with other creatives.
Yeah.
It's electrifying. It's fun. But some people think we're all just crazy, don't they?
When I first started working with people in business, and men especially, intuition was like a dirty word.
Yes.
And it was, well, we fly by the seat of our pants, and it was the way they described. They were doing intuition, but didn't want to call it that because at that time it was pretty out there. They thought it meant being psychic. And
very
so, to me, it's just a subset of intuition. It's not that important. What's important is drawing everything into the present moment and then expanding out, and then everything's contained within you. You start to feel so interconnected with life. So intuition, to me, it's really as you move just from the left brain analytical, defined kind of thinking into the right brain, which is totally open and everything's there. And you enter it, and this is one way to start being intuitive: is be quiet. Stop the internal dialogue, because when you're talking and using language, that the left brain is active. So that's why when meditation, get quiet, really slow down, and that's why I'm sort of not a fan of cell phones, because it's too much talking. We have to do quiet, and not through an app necessarily.
So, and you and Diana, perfect kickoff. The both of you both talked about being on a journey, listening to that inner voice.
Yeah.
When you listen to the inner voice, does it get easier as you do learn to be silent, pause in time? Does it get easier?
I think, I've developed a practice. I call the inner voice my inner perceiver. Like there's a part of my consciousness that helps me notice what I notice. Like we could walk down the same path through the woods and I'd notice something totally different than you, and we'd have a different reality out of it. So when odd things happen to me, I always dialogue with the reality and say, okay, why is this happening right now? What is the hidden message, me, the soul, I, the soul, am trying to get through to Penny, the personality?
No.
And then I get answers, and then I get clearer. Like, so negative things are not negative. They're like chances to get rid of old clogs in the flow,
and then get freed up to have a new experience, a new journey.
Exactly.
Like by unclogging the system. So the name of the chapter is The Most Magical Thing of Life. So I'm going to put you on the spot. What's the most magical thing of your life that you can share here today?
Something about the trusting in the flow. And this came very big to me last year when I had a sudden heart failure and didn't know it. I mean, it was overnight. It's kind of like Rhonda's thing, but I didn't feel right. I went to urgent care. They sent me to the ER and they put me in cardiac ICU. And I was there for 3 weeks and had open heart surgery. And I felt so lucky, oddly. I mean, I was not afraid at all. I just was like, what is happening to me? And then I realized that I had asked to become very focused in generosity and gratitude and an unconditional love. That's what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, and give up all my deprivation thinking and all the little petty complaints and stuff. And I feel like I accessed a huge amount of the greater reality, let's call it, while I was in surgery. And I thought, oh, I'll be different when I come back and wake up, and no, I was the same. But things have started dribbling in. Like, I had a life review that you usually have when you die.
Yeah.
On my sofa while I was watching TV. And then, other insights have come. Oh, that's how that works. Oh, this is that. That's why that's important. Just like little lights going off all the time now. And it's like an expansion. It couldn't come all at once. And my inner guidance, my inner perceiver said that this was a shortcut.
Ooh,
to higher states. And if I complain about it, it won't work.
So I'm going to bring Rhonda back in here for a second, because Rhonda, as you thought of this book, and again, Diana and Penny's themes overlap very easily.
Yeah.
Did they talk to each other? Did you help them find this easy overlap to kick this off?
No, this is where, it's like I always say, we play in the field of miracles, right? And if we're playing in the field of miracles and we're listening, we're in the listening, everything is possible. And I think these two both, they've had the experiences. Penny is a thought leader on intuition, which was why we were so honored that she said yes to write chapter 1. And I think the more we listen and are in the listening, is now that magic starts to unfold. I know Diane always says that too. Like, it's all about the magic, right? And it is. And it's so often, society wants it to sound woo-woo. So we give it all these labels. However, men can call it woo-woo, but men that are listening to their intuition are actually the most successful men I've ever met, because they're listening. They're not just doing. And we know that often, look, I'm a super masculine style woman and I get in the doing. Yet when I'm in the listening is actually when more things happen for me and I have to do less.
Right. And the men are more loving.
Right.
Too.
Say that again, please. Let all the men hear that, please. One more time.
Yeah. When listening and trusting intuition, and that I call it direct knowing. Mm-hmm. It's not logical and it's not linear. It's all at once in the moment. And you've had those flashes, but then then the left brain cheapens it and says, oh, that can't, blah, blah, blah. But if men trust that direct knowing, what starts to happen is things get easier and there's not as much willpower involved in making things happen. They just start happening. And then you start seeing the next thing in the flow showing up, and it's the just right next thing.
I love it. Penny, thanks.
Sure.
Sorry.
Okay. That's all right.
Well, we're going to rotate chairs now, but Penny, thank you very much for jumping in and being a part of this. Well, again, there's 25 total authors in this, but there's a bunch right exactly where Rhonda's at. They're all waiting for the turn to jump on in. So we're going to move on to our next author, Jet Van Wyk.
Jet Van Wyk.
Van Wyk. There, thank you very much. That's why you're here to back me up. Her chapter is How Intuition Conquered Likes and Chose Love. Now, she's originally from the Netherlands. She's the founder of the Laptop Lifestyle Mastery and the JVW agency. She's transitioned from the influencer to the digital marketer expert, business coach, keynote speaker. At 24 years, at 24, she has already built a multiple 7-figure business. Congratulations on that. Jet, I see you're in the hot chair. Welcome to the show today. How are you doing?
I'm all good. Thank you so much for having me.
So you're jumping into this amazing group of people. Did you know any of the other authors before you joined Rhonda into this amazing book?
No, not at all. I really got to know Rhonda actually by finding out about the book and it just really speaking to me, the mission. And then when me and Rhonda both discovered we both live in Bali, we of course got also connected on a deeper level there. And yeah, I've had the pleasure to meet all these amazing ladies at the events and at the calls that we've been doing. And it's just really a sisterhood.
So let me summarize a little bit about your chapter. In pursuit of an influencer lifestyle, you found yourself entrapped by a need for online validation, which many people do, leading to an emotional turmoil and loss of authenticity. And then you learned and wrote about this. Now, a lot of people are going through what you went through. So can you share a little about what this chapter is about?
Yes, 100%. For me, intuition has been such a big part in helping me actually realize that something that I was doing wasn't right. It didn't feel right. It actually made me very depressed. It was not good for my mental health. And intuition really told me, hey, you have to get out of this. And that is why I'm so grateful for it. So yeah, I used to be an influencer in pursuit of, a better lifestyle because I was working actually in a corporate job in London in the basement. And there were no windows, there was no natural air. And of course, I was online, right? Scrolling, seeing all these amazing people living their best life and traveling the world. And I was like, I want that too. And this is when I started learning, okay, how can you become an influencer? How can you become a travel blogger specifically? Because for me, the travel was really appealing. Yeah.
Well, now we are working all from home, and
Mhm.
more and more people want to work from home.
Yeah.
But how do we balance life work when we're always at work now? What advice do you have for people with that?
Yeah. I would say to really, I think the problem with a corporate job or with the way that it's set up is that you really build, your life around your work. And working online, you have to see it that you can now build your work around your life. So just really look at what would my ideal day look like? What activities would I be doing for me? That's, I want to go to the gym for a few hours a day. I want to walk my dog for sunset at the beach. And then I just mold my work around that instead of the other way around. So I feel like really sticking to the routines that make you feel the best version of yourself. And then you're going to put your work around that, right? And that is the joke that we go from a 9 to 5 to a 24/7, which is
Yeah.
what we have to avoid, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and is it easier because now you get to pick your own business hours? Like I'm more energized at night.
Yeah.
So I love the creative juices, all that intuition stuff we're talking about comes alive at night. Is this easier working from home because now you get to match it up better to your true view of yourself?
Yeah, I think everyone has, their most productive hours or the way that their body just works better. And I feel like I've even seen analysis about this that you can take to figure out like, are you more a morning person or when are you more productive? And I feel like that's especially, for some of my students, they have, for example, ADHD, and they really have specific parts where they just feel great and where they can really focus. And if you work online, and especially when you have your own business, now you can tap into that instead of going against kind of your own biology and the way that you are set up as a human. So I feel like, and there's two differences as well, right? You can have a remote job that still needs you to log in between 9 to 5,
Yeah.
or you are a business owner or freelancer and you can really make your own hours however you like. Yeah.
So you're a freelancer yourself. You get to enjoy all the benefits of this. What have you personally yourself learned about you as you've made that transition into be a freelancer?
So I think one of the biggest realizations for me was I thought that I was a night person So I was doing the same. I was like just enjoying my whole day. And in the evening, I got very productive and I would always work at night. But then I just realized that for health and mental health and, fitness and the other goals in that area that I was trying to achieve, actually for my body it worked much better to kind of biohack my schedule.
Mm.
So now I really look at, okay, when am I eating, because I know that after you eat you have more, you're more sleepy, you can work less. So now I really optimize my schedule, and now I realized I was never a night person. I just structured my day completely wrong. I was eating too late, and I was staying up too late, and now I prefer actually going to bed early and then waking up early, having a few hours of deep work where your brain is not foggy because there's no food yet, so you're on your peak performance, then going gym, and then basically having a light lunch, working more, and then just having an early dinner so that you're really have great sleep. And I feel like I had that misconception that I was a night person when I was freelancing, and now running a company, I'm like, okay, no, I need my early sleep.
So is this really your chapter really about learning to love yourself and find the balance? Is that a big part of the chapter?
I would say the biggest part is really realizing that, social media is actually changing the way that we perceive ourselves.
Yeah.
So for me, what happened is I started this for the lifestyle, right? Like we said, getting out of 9 to 5. That was the goal. But then it changed into pursuing the attention and pursuing the likes. Because as an influencer, you actually need to get attention to get money in the end, right? So you subconsciously change the way you think about yourself. So where I started as a travel blogger, posting travel landscapes and beautiful destinations, I ended up always posting selfies because those would get more likes, right? So I completely changed the way that I actually thought about myself. And this is where my chapter is about, that I realized that I was not the influencer. My followers were influencing me and changing me. And that's when I got out of this industry. Yeah.
That's huge that you wanted to influence them, but they were influencing you,
Yeah.
and you literally adapted to their desires.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is all like, it's all neuroscience. It's very interesting. And in my chapter, I speak a little bit about some of this research that I've done to figure out, hey, why was I feeling like this? Why did this happen to me? So, my biggest mission of writing and being part of this book is actually educating the younger generation that you can have a better lifestyle, but you don't necessarily need to sacrifice your mental health and become an influencer. You can also become a freelancer and learn digital marketing skills. And it doesn't have to be about you needing to be famous or needing to get likes and followers. And that is the biggest, reason to raise awareness, especially in the younger generation, that the influencer life is not all that.
Well, and Jess got a very well done YouTube channel. I've been there. I've looked at some of her stuff. Go check
Thank
out some of her
you.
material. Very well done, because I think you are influencing people. How much fun do you have doing this Women Gone Wild series? How much fun and excitement are you having?
So much fun. I mean, it is actually, I'm from the Netherlands, right? So this was my second time to the States. And now, doing this book tour, first time in the New York, first time now in Florida, LA. So we're having a lot of fun. I'm really also discovering the world by being part of this book. Uh, so it's amazing.
Jeff, thanks for taking the time to drop on in. I know there's a bunch of ladies. I know you're having fun. Enjoy Florida, and thanks for being a part of the launch party today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Again, it's the Women Gone Wild. It's the intuition book, and that's what we're talking about. We're going to bring on our next guest here. We're going to keep spinning the dial, let them rotate the chairs here today. Beata Nimsky. And her chapter is going to be on the whisper of the universe. We're going to be real, real quiet. No, it's the whisper of the universe. She's co-founder of the Institute for Intrinsic Competence. Her extensive training includes programs such as Tony Robbins, the Mastery University, and Brian Tracy's Leadership and Sales program. In her chapter, she talks about the inner whisper, a delicate voice that can easily be dismissed. Listening to the voice is sometimes impossible in the hustle and bustle of life. Beata, welcome to the book launch party. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a really a joy being here with you and with all my book sisters.
So, yeah, they are your book sisters. Did you know anybody from this group before you joined this amazing book group?
Yeah, I met Rhonda last year already because my intuition told me to get on this journey when I received an email from a friend of mine. It is nearly 2 years ago, and there was the very first time I heard about this book series, and I said, "Wow, I have to be there." And then I decided to be on the second book, and when the first book was launched the second time last year in Huntington, I just said, I have to be there. I have to get to know some of the authors already, not even being in this book. So I met some of them last year in Huntington already. Yes.
So, when you talk about the whisper of the universe, some people again are going to go woo woo, but that's not what you're talking about. But what exactly is the whisper of the universe?
Yeah, you said woo woo. That's what everybody said when I started with it. So for me, it's really the very silent voice within me. So there is something which is talking to me, for example, and it's not the head. I always say, our mind, our monkey mind, is about 7% of the intelligence we are and we have, and 93% is the inner world.
Mm-hmm.
And the inner world has the true wisdom. And to know that you know has nothing to do with the brain and the mind. To know that you know something has to do with your awareness and consciousness. And this is something you have within yourself. And everybody has this, but
Well,
nobody gets trained to listen to it.
right. Everyone does have it. Some people call it the conscious, the spirit. Someone call it a kick in the butt. They have to figure out what it is, and then they have to learn to trust it.
Yeah.
How do you help people learn to trust it? Because I think that's the hardest part of all this is I'm not crazy, but I have to trust it and act upon it, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, this is really the hard thing, so called, because myself, I was always in a logic, So I'm since 35 years now in business. I'm a business owner as well, and working with men most of the time in companies. And what was helpful to me was two legs, for example. The one leg is the strategic and the practical and the logic going. And the second one is always pause a while and listen to yourself and ask your question, what else is possible? Is this strategic path that what will guide us as a company or as a person into the success? And then you learn how the voice is speaking to you. Because if it's empowering you, it feels light. If it will destroy you, it feels heavy. And this is something you can learn with your body as well. It's a kind of body language. For example, if it's light and if it's positive for you or for your business, you feel like, oh, yeah, going. So this is a forward move from your body. And if something says, oh, I have to figure out some more before I start, then the body goes a little bit back. And this is what you can learn in just pausing. And this is second, this is only seconds.
Well, and isn't it the more you learn to slow down and be still, some people think it's incredibly hard, but the more you do that, the more pleasure and the more fulfillment you get from being still and listening to the voice. And it's almost like a hunger for more of it. Don't you get that?
Yeah, this is correct because I learned to listen to my inner voice after a very heavy car accident, and this is what I'm as well in my chapter I'm talking about, because this car accident forced me to stop. I was ongoing, and making career at that time in a huge company, and I always knew inside of me something is not working for me anymore, but I didn't know how to get out of it. And so this car accident stopped me. And I learned with a Chinese master. This is a grandmaster Mantak Chia, which I then learned over more than 10 years, meditation, Qigong, Tai Chi. And this is a practice when you go within yourself and you become still, and the mind is connected with the heart and the belly. For me, are the three minds. We have three minds. You have the belly, you have the heart, and you have the brain. And if you connect everything together, you all of a sudden feel that you are such a huge being, so you expand yourself in being inwardly. And this is something which is really, really cool to experience. And it doesn't take long, it doesn't take long. You can do it now. I can do it. Just talking with you.
So you also touched on something interesting. I think there's a common thread probably throughout the book that you guys may not even know that there is a common thread, but often you have a car accident, you have a heart attack, you have a tragedy or a traumatic event. Something causes you to stop. And when you are forced to stop, sometimes you find these more enlightened, more deeper things in life, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. So because we are also drawn into the outside world, and business is the outside world, and we want to succeed, and we all have the tendency to get better all the days. So we always ask ourselves, what can we do else? And this is always focused outside. And I think it's something what my inner voice, my soul, whatever you want to call it, says, okay, now you've been 32 years, 40 years outside, you have to stop. and you always have a choice. If you have such an accident like I had, you have the choice to go your old life again, or you have to reflect, okay, what will this accident or what will this situation tell me exactly? And you know what? The funny thing is, it told me something, and I learned with this Chinese master energy work. But I hadn't had the boldness, the courage to quit my job at that time. And then I got a second car accident 2 years later. And this was the turning point that I really knew. It was shouting loud out, I have to leave now. And I went into entrepreneurship without knowing anything, because this is nearly 40 years ago.
So the whisper of the universe can get pretty loud and pretty dramatic when it says twice, two different car accidents. Are you listening yet? Are you listening yet?
Yeah, exactly.
One other quick question here, because you do have an accent. It's not an English accent. Where are you from? And does this topic appear to be easier or harder from your own national home country?
My home country is Germany, and I'm happy to be here, and I love to travel the world, and I'm happy to speak like I speak now. I know that I have to add all kinds of vocabulary still. But yeah, I love to travel, and I love to communicate, and I love the different accents and the different people and all the colors of this world, So yeah, therefore I'm happy to be here and meeting my 25 sisters here as well.
Do the Germans embrace this idea of intuition and listening to your inner voices? Do they embrace it, or?
It's starting. It's starting. So I tried. I think I was a pioneer in 1989. I wanted to bring this into the world, and everybody said, oh, you are in a sect and just stop it and whatever. So, but I sticked on it. I knew I have to bring this into the world. And my aim is now really, because I know both parts. I know company, I know entrepreneurship. I'm by myself a woman. I worked 35 years with CEOs levels. So my aim is now to bring this, especially as well, to women, to listen more to their inner voice, and as well to men, because they are not really open quite now, but they don't deny it anymore. So they know when I come into a company or in a coaching, they know she's different. But because of my difference, because of my being weird, they hire me, and I can bring into discussions, conversations, mergers, and stuff like that in personal development, what they don't think about. And so they can grow by just adding some other pieces.
Beata, thank you for being with us. Thank you for sharing. We're going to spin the chair again and add another of the amazing authors in here.
Thank you.
Rhonda Swan, thank you very much. Rhonda Swan, yes, the name sounds familiar because we've already had her mother on her, but Rhonda, there's Rhonda. She's going to jump in. Boom, surprise. Cultivating intuition through creativity. And by the way, Rhonda is a 60-year-old fashion designer, artist, model, international speaker, best-selling author. She is one of the youngest fashion designers and business owners in the world. Welcome to your book launch. How does it feel to be here today?
Feels amazing. Thank you so much for having me here. It's so nice being around all the authors in one place and finally getting to connect and share what we've been writing for so long.
So your mother and I were talking at the beginning about the age gap of the amazing authors and women involved. How does it feel to be the youngest one, but then you get to hang out with people like Diana Wentworth and all the other people? How's it feel at age 16 to be a part of this?
I feel honored to be representing the Gen Zs or younger entrepreneurs out there. I really, I've spent most of my life at entrepreneurial events and kind of in this environment of being around entrepreneurs. I grew up traveling with my family for the last 16 years of my life, so pretty much growing up on the road. And so when I was growing up and when I was really young, I was around a lot of adults. So I learned to kind of take in a lot of new information and be able to adjust with others. And it's been really powerful being able to finally get to share my story and work with other amazing authors and find inspiration from them.
Well, I saw a couple of YouTube clips, and a couple of them was a very young lady early on. Did you like wanting to be on the camera and being out there like that? Or was that something that you had to get encouraged to do? Was it natural? Was it nurture? Was it training? How did it come together for you?
Yeah, well, growing up, I was kind of always on camera because me and my family were like the first digital nomads, kind of like the first family to really do it before it was cool. And so I kind of got used to being on camera. I grew up with it, and I wouldn't change anything for the world. Like having all those memories documented, like looking back on it, it's so beautiful to see how I've grown up like in real time. I definitely feel like over time I've become more reserved with how I share myself and how I present myself online. And I've really valued my keeping things to myself in my own life. But I think that being able to have those documents of me being younger and starting my first company and doing a lot of huge projects when I was younger has been such a vital thing to my growth.
So you're writing this big book, amazing authors, cultivating intuition through creativity. You explore the profound role of intuition as a gateway to creativity and self-discovery, learning to trust your inner guidance and fostering deep artistic expression and profound connection with yourself. So let's talk about the artistry of this, because as a creative myself, it's all intuition for me. Everything I've done most of my life has been beamed in my head, and I bring it out here. What's it like to live in that space and accept the intuition that comes with that?
Yeah, so early on, I really found myself like really being drawn to the arts while traveling. Having my sketchbook with me was something that was always consistent that I could have in my life. And being able to express myself creatively was something that just helped me keep on moving forward through change. And so I really found that my intuition was so intertwined with my creativity. And as I started to tune into more what I wanted in my life and tune into myself, I felt myself unleash a new level of creativity or unlock new capabilities I couldn't express beforehand. And so with my chapter specifically, I found that being able to intertwine or recognize how intuition and creativity is intertwined, it can help you unlock so many different levels of both sides, you know, they go hand in hand. And so my chapter is mainly about that, unlocking that part of yourself. through like projects that I've done, through creativity, like poetry or art pieces, you know, I've found myself getting so much closer to myself as well as being able to dive deeper with the piece itself.
I've found in the course of my life being a creative and listening to that inner voice, I'll be asleep. I get these creative downloads, images, pictures, storylines, and then I literally have to grab my phone. And I used to grab a piece of paper. Now I grab the phone and I'll dictate in the middle of the night a reminder about that download so I can actually do it in the daytime. Do you find yourself doing that where in the moments that you never thought you were going to get download, that's when it comes alive? It surprises you?
Totally. I have the exact same thing. And I feel like as kind of in the society that we're in right now, we learn to not recognize those creative downloads as much. And I think the biggest thing for me has been learning to embrace it fully and kind of taking time to allow your mind to be settled or to tap into that deeper part of yourself. I feel like when it's just you and your mind, the inspiration is able to come through fully. And I think that by sharing these stories about how we can unlock and tap into that creativity, even if you're not a creative person, we all have that creativity inside us. And when we learn to recognize those creative signs, we can really get in tune with like what we love and making a bigger impact with our work.
So you've been in many different industries already. You've launched a very early career. What do you find the most joy in from the many different things you get to do? What really lights you up?
Well, for many years, I was a fashion designer. So I started my clothing brand when I was around 9 years old, officially bringing it to over 6 figures by the time I was 12. And for me, my intuition was a key and vital part in that discovery. Being able to get in tune with what I wanted. I remember my mom asking me when I was 7, instead of the question, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" she asked me, "What do you want to be now?" And I felt that question light up my mind to the possibilities of what I could truly do and be now. And in that moment, I really have like, since then have became more in tune with what do I want? What can I take action on now? And so for that single question, that kind of unlocked my first level of my intuition and allowed me to say, I want to become a fashion designer. I want to take action on my dreams. And since then, I have started to work on different projects and have followed like what I've really my higher calling in life. And for now, it's being an author, writing, as well as doing art. Like that's the closest thing to my heart. And just following that streamline has just unlocked so many new levels of growth.
So before I let you go, you are the youngest one on this tour. Talk to the camera, talk to the young people right now. What would you say about trusting that inner voice?
Oh, that's a hard one. I feel like for anyone out there who ever has doubted their intuition, get in tune with it. I feel like we so often get swayed by people in our life or opinions and ideas of what we should and should not do. But really, that is just self-doubt guiding us in a different direction. Get in tune with what your heart feels. One of my things that I say to myself so often when I'm doubting myself is fall out of your head and fall into your heart. And the idea of letting go and just giving release to that mental chatter, that's been the biggest asset in my life. And intuition has been like, once you get more in tune with it, like falling into your intuition, falling into your heart, it will guide you so much stronger than any self-doubt or misconstrued ideas from others, you know? So that's the biggest thing. Keep on trusting that. Trust that heart.
That's
It'll guide
great you said. That's a great title for a book, by the way. Write that down. Boom. We got a download. Annalie, thanks for being with us today. We're going to let your room be quiet for a second. We're going to take you off screen, and we're going to move on to our next amazing guest out there. But they're beaming in for another fantastic location as we continue on with this book launch. And Terry Britt is going to be my next guest. Opening to Miracles. Terry Britt is a former Miss USA 1982 and anchor of Movie Time. It's now called E, by the way. You may have heard of that. She has been a TEDx speaker, spiritual coach, and intuitive healer, and has authored award-winning books. As a founder of Women Leaders of Love, she has helped women become thriving examples of their families, communities, and of the world. And Terry, we are going to bring you on right now. There you are, Terry.
Yay!
So Terry, you've been sitting backstage listening to all this. This is your book launch, but it's a book launch with a bunch of other fellow women authors. What do you think as you're hearing this unfold?
I'm sitting here saying, wow, I have gotten to know some of the women through New York. And then last year I was at an event where many of them were speaking. But to hear, just sitting here in my office and listening to each of them, I'm so inspired. I'm so blown away. I'm like, these women, wow, I'm a part of this group. I'm so excited. That's what I feel.
But the title, Women Gone Wild, and then the book's called Intuition, but just the idea of Women Gone Wild, is that a badge you own now? Is that something you can grab and say, I'm a wild woman on a mission, on a purpose, and that's okay?
Absolutely. And I have to tell you, and this is something that I was thinking about because I was thinking about Hanalei, who just spoke, right?
Yeah.
And how Rhonda and her husband, Brian, have brought her up to really be empowered in her voice. And what does she want now? I, on the other hand, was raised to be a good girl. And if you know what the good girl is, she's someone who suppresses her voice. She doesn't rock the boat. She doesn't give her opinions. She suppresses her feelings. She puts herself on the back burner. That's the way I was raised. I wasn't in this new family paradigm. I was in the old family paradigm. And so for me, when I wanted to do something different, because I always had this inkling, to lead and do my own thing, I would feel suppressed. No, you can't do that. And I was always seeking love. I wanted someone to tell me that I was lovable, that I was enough, that I was okay. So I was trying to be the best student. I was trying to be the best daughter. I was trying to be the best girlfriend. Followed my boyfriend to a college that didn't have a broadcasting department. And yet I wanted to be in broadcasting, but I wanted his love more. But what I found, Rich, is that I got angry. And I even tried to put my fist in my boyfriend's window, if you can imagine. I mean, I was this angry person because I was suppressing. And then thankfully, I know you're laughing. You're like, hey, really? You put your fist? Yeah.
I've been there myself, though. I've been there. I know what you're talking about.
And it was in my second semester of my sophomore year of school. We actually broke up for a short period. I was home for the weekend talking to a friend about how much I hated school. And this guy said, so don't go. And my response was, well, I have to. And then he asked, says who? And Rich, in that moment, that was the first time I ever felt an intuitive knowingness wash over my body. And I knew I had to leave school. I went and ran to my parents and said, I have to be done. I have to be done. And they said, okay, they supported me. Within the week, my apartment rented. Within the week, I moved home, got a job. Everything was flowing. It's like I stepped into this divine flow. I was feeling free for the first time in my life. And then all of a sudden one day at my job, I run into a former Miss Arkansas. She asked if I'm going to be in the pageant. I said no. I'd been in it the year prior, made top 5. I said I was just looking for a break. And then she shared some things. I thought, okay, maybe I'll go in. Go into Miss Arkansas. My mom made my dress. I won. And 2 weeks later, left for Miss USA. Got on stage in the top 12, and Bob Barker says, what do you do in Cabot, Arkansas on a Saturday night? And I said, well, Bob, in my very Southern drawl, in the winter, we stay at home, but in the summer, we go downtown to the Tasty Freeze. We sit on the back of my friend's truck. He plays a banjo, and the guys drink a little beer and dip a little skull. It's a real good time. And I won. I won Miss USA.
Wow. Now we come into writing a book about intuition, and your chapter, just so everyone's aware, is introspection and healing. You've discovered transformation and power of self-love, intuition, guiding toward a life fulfilled with, here's the word, everybody, authenticity. It's a big word right now. It's a big buzz, and spiritual growth. Let's talk about authenticity first, because I'm in the media. I know that path. This is all glam. This is all often fake. This is all a facade, but more and more people in the industry are saying, I want to rip it apart and I want you to see the real me. How powerful is that for people to embrace that now, do you think?
Well, look, I mean, it's what won Miss USA for me. It is the key, because what happens is when we get authentic, we align with the way we were created. And this is where we own our worth. This is where we feel joyful. This is where we feel abundant. And when you look at it from an energy perspective, when you are authentic and you're in alignment, you're in a high vibration. I call it a high worthiness quotient. And in this high vibration, because energy, when we emit it, we attract to us a similar energy. So if we're in a high vibration of self-love, then we're going to attract things that feel loving. And what I've learned over the years, and this is what I teach so much in my community, is that when we are performing, when we're trying to be good, when we're not being authentic, when we're trying to caretake everyone else, we're actually coming from a place of shame and guilt, saying who I am is not enough. And when we put ourselves in those vibrations, which are the two lowest vibrations, we attract things that feel like punishment. So we want to be in a space of, I am enough, I am lovable, I am likable. And if we don't feel we are, that's when we need to do the inner work, raise our vibration, own our worth, raise our worthiness quotient, so that we open up to miracles.
Well, and a lot of that does come through that intuition or that inner voice, the spirit. And you have to learn, like, as we said throughout the whole show so far, you have to learn to trust it. But I think those of us in the media, we've been taught the complete other. Polish,
Right.
practice, performance. You're always on. You're always good enough. When in fact, it drains you. But this new authenticity coming through, you can see everyone literally going, it feels good just to be me.
Well, you know what I
Isn't that
think?
liberating?
It's so liberating. And here is one of the blessings of COVID. Because when I worked in television, everything had to be perfect, right? Your lapel pin had to be perfect. Your makeup had to be perfect. Your hair had to be perfect. I mean, everything had to be perfect. And when COVID happened and we see Jimmy Kimmel, doing his show from his basement and in sweats, I was going, wow, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen, because people are getting real. So even though COVID was so bad in so many ways, in so many other ways, it was a blessing for us to open up and say, who I am is enough. Because when we are real, what we're energetically saying is, who I am is enough.
Yes.
Right?
Now, spirituality is also in your chapter. And it's interesting, when I talk to people who claim that they're not spiritual, but they begin to have these awakenings, they begin to have this intuition, they automatically go into, now you've heard me say it before, but now let me tell you, there is a connection to all this, opening yourself up, listening, being still, as we heard earlier. It does open up the spiritual life, doesn't it?
Oh my goodness. I have to tell you, for me, what has happened is I was raised in religion. As I started this path, I stepped away because I felt like, man, I feel like I've been brainwashed. But as I have continued to build this connection within and to the universe, to God, I feel God's presence in everything that I do. I see you as a messenger of God. I see all of these women as a messenger of God. I see the rabbit that keeps running across my road. I live up a 1-lane dirt road on top of a mountain. I see this rabbit that has crossed the road 3 times in the last 2 days as I've gone up and down the mountain, as a messenger of God. And so what's so beautiful about that, as I've done this, instead of being in victim mentality, as thinking things are happening to me, I'm coming from a space of life is happening for me. There are messages everywhere that are showing me what I'm being guided to do next. And so as I listen to the messages, or as I pay attention, which to me, it's just living in a state of intuition, right? It's really living in an intuitive state. As I do that, I mean, can you see the grin on my face?
Oh, yeah. No. This is where it becomes contagious. And this is where the fun is. And I think that's part of your goal of this chapter of the book, is your writing will be that contagious through the pages, right?
I hope so. That is my mission, is that I can be a messenger, that there is a kinder, gentler way. Because the way we've been doing life, you were talking about men earlier, we've been doing kind of that male warrior energy. Yes. But when we go within and we love ourselves and we treat ourselves with kindness and compassion, and then get inspired guidance. Okay. And so part of that for me was cleaning out the beliefs that tell me I had to be something else, letting go of all the rules. And as I let go of the rules, the shoulds, I have to do this, I have to do that, and instead said, okay, my focus is to honor and love the way I was created, because I truly believe that is putting God first. So if I make God at the center of everything that I'm doing and say yes to it, then I'm going to get the guidance that is going to take me every step of the way. And it's going to really help me serve. I've seen it change my family. I've seen my late husband of 17 years and my husband now of almost 16 years. I've seen their lives change because as I listened, they began to listen. And they got off of that male energy, that warrior energy, and instead went into the divine feminine. And then when we take inspired action, we move into the divine masculine. So this is the balance that we want, is to go within, to nurture, to love, to heal, and then listen to the guidance and take that inspired action.
Terry Britt, we're looking forward to reading your chapter in the Women Gone Wild Intuition book. Thanks for taking the time to drop in today from your home location. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, we are having a great time. This book is jam-packed. There's so much great stuff, and we're still not done yet. I'm going to take a deep breath because we're going to go back to Sarasota here in just a minute. And coming up next, Courtney Murray is going to be with us. And intuition is the name of the book of this, but she's got intuition, and it is an acronym, the light bulb to our guide in life. Courtney is a financial services leader, founder, and CEO of Coastal Capital. That's with a K, by the way. She's also a best-selling co-author, media personality, sought after keynote speaker, and board member of the AACFB. She is disrupting the financing industry by changing the leading equation. And we're going to bring Courtney back live from Sarasota. Courtney, great to see you.
Great to see you, Rich, and welcome to my hometown of Sarasota.
Oh, you're a native.
I am. Everyone's here in my office today enjoying this chat with you. This has been amazing.
So yeah, you've been sitting back hearing this. What do you think of what you're now hearing from all the people you've been hanging out with? I mean, your authors, your leaders, your speakers, your influencers, but now you're hearing them really bring it out. What do you think?
I think it's amazing because with this journey and with intuition in general, I think having a group of women that share your same why is so special. And having a group of women that have intuition and have been able to really share it with the world in different ways, you learn from each of them. And so I think each of us are here to learn every single day of our lives. And when you get a surrounding group that you wouldn't necessarily think to connect with if you were out, and just out in public, you wouldn't run into these people and think we're going to be instant friends. But then you start, piecing them apart and realizing that we have so much in common. And I think that that's something really special.
So in your chapter, you get into this whole intuition acronym, which I'm going to let you dive a little bit into, but not give it all away. But you reflect on numerous life-changing moments where you've trusted your intuition, avoiding danger. As a childhood, you had career opportunities come your way, and ultimately finding love. Now, we haven't really touched on that yet, but what does intuition have to do with finding love?
Oh, I think that was probably the biggest tool that I used in finding love. I mean, all of us, as we grow up, we find young love, we find things that might have been, a part of our life. And some of us know to say no, or that this isn't working for me. And I think intuition is something that you really have to dig deep when something is not working. My story was a little bit different because I was on a date with a completely different man, and my now husband of 14 years was sitting at the table next to us. And I used my intuition once I looked over at that table, and we had this deep connection. And it was when you look at someone and you just feel it all through your whole body, your gut, your mind, your soul, everything tells you, go talk to this person. And instead of sitting back with the date that was sitting right across from me, I picked up from the date and said, this is not working. And I was left with the tab and I walked over to the next table, and 14 years later, here I am.
You did not. You literally jumped from one table to another table.
I did. And that
Now,
was
that's
probably
following
the
your
most
intuition.
intuitive
That's
thing.
following your spirit and your gut.
That
How-
was 100%. I knew 100%, but I think that we know that when we're grounded and looking for something, when we're sitting and allowing ourselves to feel and using all of your senses, but that intuition really did lead me to that table because that's something that you wouldn't necessarily do.
Well, so for everyone listening to that, they're all smacked in the head like I am right now. Take us back for a second. What did it take for you to, in the moment, literally cross from table to table? What did it take inside of you, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever? What did it take for you to literally say, "I'm going to do this"?
Well, we had a look. We had a look from across the tables, and it was almost like an internal stare where you felt it go through your soul. And it's something that you don't feel very often. You can feel it at different times. It's an exciting butterfly type of feeling. But I thought, I'm sitting here across from a man who's telling me a story that I don't want to listen to. And I did. I intuitively said, I am going to say no to the state because I don't have any ties to this except for a beer that one of us is going to have to pay for. And we weren't too far into it. And I thought, I'm going to let this one go, and I'm going to take my chance. I was new to town. I had moved from San Diego to Boston. I didn't know a soul, and it was winter. And so I thought, what chance do I have to lose by not walking over there when I had these feelings? And I don't think if I didn't feel those emotions, I do not think I would have walked over there. But it was really just an intuition to do it because it's not something I would typically ever do. And I don't know if I'd ever do it again, but it worked out.
So this is one of the great things I get to do with my career. I get to hear stories like that, have a blast getting to do it. So to me, thank you for sharing that. But now you have a passion for empowering women.
I do.
How does that unwavering trust and intuition help you to help women to be better entrepreneurs and leaders?
So I'll share a bit of a story. I believe when we grow up, at least as women, it's hard to find a group of women that truly inspire you and help with growth. So women, when you're young, women can be catty, as I'm sure many would tell you. And so through life, I encountered things where I kind of backed myself out into more of an introverted type of role in my life. And although I always wanted to believe in women, I felt like I was really hurt by women when I was younger. And I was kind of somebody who was well traveled. I moved state to state. I tried different businesses. I've always been an entrepreneur. And as I got older, I started finding groups of women that were uplifting one another. And I realized that, we're all born pure. We start, and then we kind of get broken along the lines. But when you start going back to that root of believing and trusting people who have your same mission, vision, and values, and you understand that you can really help someone with your voice. I joined the Women Gone Wild series 2 years ago, and I started with the Wealth Edition. And I, since that book, have been able to really tap into what I wanted to do, and that was helping other women. I realized with my story just in that first book, how many people it touched, how many people it opened up something in them that they related to me, and they were able to heal or move forward or become empowered. And every day of my life, I work with businesses because we offer financing to businesses. And so every day I'm working with men and women and people who are starting business all the way to 10 years in business and up. And why not use that voice to help women get to this next level and know that they have somebody they can trust on the back end? And intuitively, I always knew I wanted to do that, but I was afraid of using my voice because I was afraid of that backstabbing mentality when I was younger. What happens when you're growing up? So,
real quickly before I let you go, Courtney, what does intuition stand for?
For me, well, it's intuitive. Well, intuitive stands for me. I believe your gut and everything that you believe in your. I mean, intuition isn't really. I would not really say that it has. I couldn't really say a meaning in words. It's a feeling. And so intuition for me is a feeling. It's a feeling from the ground up. It's a feeling that you get in your arms with the chills when your hair stands up. It's a feeling you get in your soul. And so intuition is really following what your inner soul believes is the right thing to do.
Beautiful. Courtney, thank you very much for being here with us. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it. Again, from Sarasota, really from Sarasota, Florida. She's really part of it. She's probably having a lot of fun leading everybody there. We are going to move on to, let me see here. Next up is Lisa Stafford. And let me see here. I've got to double check. We got a couple more that'll drop on in here. And Lisa is backstage. I'm going to see if Lisa is really with us here right now. I see backstage, but I do not see Lisa there. So instead, we're going to go back to Sarasota, I believe. Hey, Rhonda's right there. Rhonda, what's
Lisa's
going on?
here.
Oh, she's there. She's there. They're there. Okay. There you go. See, I have dual
Hi,
cameras.
Rich.
I've got people moving all over the place. Lisa, great to have you with us here, by the
Oh,
way.
I'm so excited and honored to be here today and just being on your show and being able to share all this good stuff with all these amazing women. I don't know how I got here, but I'm here and I'm doing it. So I'm just going to push through that fear barrier and get to the other side saying, I'm here to celebrate empowering women and sharing our stories.
Well, Lisa, by the way, is the CEO of Lisa's Sweet Spot. Lisa
Yes.
Stafford provides invaluable support to entrepreneurs trained and certified across diverse disciplines. Lisa offers a holistic approach to nurturing emotional, mental, spiritual well-being, and her chapter gets into Bridge to My Dreams. Now, I'm a dreamer, Lisa. Watch out. You're in trouble here because what do you mean when you write that title and wrote that chapter?
Well, for me, Bridge to My Dreams, it started, when I was born. But as I've grown through life, I've understood that intuition is literally that gateway, that bridge that we start to cross to creating the life that we want, the peace and the joy and the goodness of the sweet spot. I mean, what is a sweet spot? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. What
That's
is a sweet spot?
This book is the sweet spot. Being part of this, being part of this community, and that awe within where you just take it all in and you just savor and bask in the glory of feeling good. And so, yeah, being part of this book is where I'm at.
So, part of your journey is a testament to transformational power, intuition, emotional alignment,
Hmm.
guiding through your childhood drama and self-doubt, which we all deal with, by the way, everyone does, to fulfill your dreams. What's it like to go through that journey of the self-doubt, the trauma, and then the step into your dream? What's it like for you to recall all that?
It was a cathartic journey, trying to follow along with my life and filter through, sift through what I felt was important with regard to understanding my own internal intuition, and then not really even understanding it when I was young, but still using it unconsciously. And then as I started to grow and really tap into, oh, well, what is that? And then you go through things that you start to work through, and you realize that for me, intuition was kind of that, if I listen to the word and I break it down, it's in, to, wish, in. So it became that idea of what it was important to me, what were my dreams, what were my hopes, what were my desires, and that's where I want to go, was in my into, wish, in. And that's where I kind of followed along in the story of my chapter of my life.
I love how you turn that into a win. I love that. The process takes you to a win. Who
Yes.
doesn't want to win, right?
Absolutely. But and to wish in, to be able to wish into what you want to create with your life. Absolutely. So the story starts, kind of the journey of my life, and then as I got to getting a little bit older, I used to do pageants and I wanted to be a model. And so I traveled from Canada, because I'm originally from Canada, down to Florida and LA, and I was doing modeling. And then I was following that guide, and I went to acting theater at a conservatory in Santa Monica for years. And a lot of times in the acting and, learning how to be working with human behavior, it was like I couldn't relax. I couldn't, they had this sort of, my acting teachers would make me do voice and movement classes, and I had this sort of still like a barrier up where it came across like I was acting rather than just being.
Right.
So one of my acting coaches suggested that I start taking some yoga classes, and then I tried the real strenuous yoga classes, thinking I was going to lose weight for camera, stay skinny. But then one of my friends said, you need to try this other style, where it became more of a restorative thing. And as I went into a few of these restorative yoga classes, I learned that this is what my acting teachers were trying to tell me, was to go inside and relax and let go and just sit within yourself. And when I started to feel that, it was like the light bulb of my intuition was probed. I decided I was not going to go down the acting modeling path as much anymore. I was really going to focus on my own self journey healing, journey of taking care of myself, listening to myself, tapping into the quiet within, being able to let go. And so that's what I teach people now, is I teach people how to let go. I teach people how to let it in. I teach people how to just savor and bask. And so it was that kind of healing journey for me. Working on this book, the whole cathartic thing just wove together. And that's where I'm here. It was the bridge to my dreams. I'm here right now, living the dream, baby, living the dream, hanging out with some of the coolest women on the planet, learning from them, sponging, taking it all in. And then, at the same time, celebrating my own self-love and my own self-journey.
That's awesome. I love hearing all
my
that.
intuition that has led me here.
And your energy, you could tell it's you are invigorated by this. One of the areas you cover in this chapter too is the area of self-doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Intuition often collides with doubt.
Mm-hmm.
It's telling you to do something, it's telling you to act on something, and your inside voice is saying, stop, don't, you can't, you won't.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that collision. How do you help people with that collision point?
Well, there's many different tools, old school tools and new school tools that we can use to access, just quieting our mind. I use yoga poses and breathing techniques. And so those types of things coming together help people just open up on the inside with precise alignment. And then you bring in the emotion side of it, where you're mastering your emotions and understanding frequency, and where do you want to sit on the scale of emotion. Do you want to be in a high vibrating frequency of joy or of happiness, or do you want to sit in a low vibrating frequency? You get to choose, right? And when you have these awarenesses around these types of modalities with which to work within yourself, then you kind of go, okay, there's so much more, and it's more and more and more, and it's never going to get done. So that's where I'm, just working with people, just helping them to understand that within themselves and their capabilities, and empowering their own, selves to heal and take a journey that's going to make them feel good. Ultimately, that's what we all want.
Lisa, thanks for being a part of the book launch. Are you guys having fun today backstage listening to all this?
Yeah, we got the team back here, loving and supporting.
Perfect. Thank you for dropping on in.
Thank you, Rich. Nice meeting you.
Keep having fun. Hey, we got one more to drop in here. We're heading to the finish line, but Robin Mullen is now going to step on in. Quest to nurture intuition in children. That's a great topic. I think this is a bullseye. Great way to land the plane. Robin is a community builder and passionate advocate for continued personal and collective evolution in her corporate and consulting roles. She's built systems that ignite creativity and accelerate collective achievement. Her latest project, Wisdom Circles, expands consciousness and the impact of members through the Collective Wisdom Council experience. Robin, thanks for jumping on board here today. How's it going?
Oh, it's great. It's been so much fun listening to everybody. And it just reaffirms every time I hear these stories how important it is to build that faculty of intuition and how many amazing outcomes it can lead to. All these different stories from all of our authors are just a testament to that.
What's been your
And
biggest takeaway as you've been listening today? What's been the biggest thing that's stuck on your head?
um, just the amount of different types of benefit that come from intuition. You know, we've all kind of highlighted different things. Hanali talked about her creativity, listening to the inner voice. You know, what is intuition? How did I pick my path? What is my purpose? How do I align with my soul? All of these things are different perspectives, you know, different angles of the jewel of intuition. And so my passion with writing this chapter, and you know, I thought I would write about my own intuitive development or where it led me at one point. But what got really clear as I dove into my writing process was no, the thing I'm most excited and proud about exploring with intuition is how I've helped develop intuition in children. And because I had to wait into my 30s till I really started believing in it and going, you know what? I really should have listened to my intuition, you know, but by the time I was 30, I had enough hard knocks that I did start really paying attention. I started putting a lot of emphasis on the time I developed my intuition. I'd go on vision quests. I did a lot of journaling. I did meditation. I started exploring all these modalities, including dream work and lots of things. And so I was a young single mother at 34, which is what I'm talking about in my chapter. And I said, how can I help my children get a head start on this? You know, how can it be not just little girls, but I had 2 little boys.
Yep.
What if by the time our children are 18 and have to make some pretty difficult or challenging new, you know, big life decisions, what if their faculty of intuition was just as sharp as their mind and their emotional intelligence? What if that was just that third jewel, like Beata talked about, you know, the 3 different brains? What if all 3 were totally revved up, empowered? How then would they make decisions differently?
And if you grow up in a nurturing home, you have the safety net of mom, dad, maybe mom by themselves, whatever the circumstances. But if you're learning to listen, act on the intuition in a safe environment at a young age, how much more are you going to fly and listen to the intuition when you're a full-grown adult, right?
Exactly. It is really linked to self-confidence, you know, making decisions, you know, not ever making a decision without tuning into your inner compass is what I call intuition. You know, what about, okay, yes, it makes sense in my mind. Yes, it kind of feels pretty good, but let me first double check. Is it true north? Is it true north for me right now? And if you can't say yes to that, then you don't make a move. So, you know, what were the techniques? I explore what I used with helping develop my, you know, it's developed, but it's also really just nurturing intuition. We can get better at it with practice. But my real premise is that we are born with it, every single person. It is innate. It is a beautiful built-in faculty of our biology and our DNA. And it doesn't get nurtured. It kind of fades into the background.
Yeah.
And then we have to rediscover it later. But what if that fade out time didn't have to be so long? You know, what if we just noticed and acknowledged and appreciated that intuition as parents, as we see it bubbling up, or as aunties or grandparents, or just people that are really called to nurture children. So that is a passion I have.
So how's that going with your kids now? How's it working out as you nurture, as you experiment on this process with them? How's it going?
Well, I'm pretty impressed with my kids. I have my 2 older boys are in their late 30s now. They have amazing careers. They both were homeowners before 30. They are millionaires. You know, they're living their dreams. They have great relationships. And there's nothing better for a parent than to watch your child really living out their path, having a great time in life. So
I love hearing that. Again, Robin, thanks for jumping in. You're a bonus guest today. Thank you for jumping in and being a part of this live in Sarasota. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
So we're going to be bringing this to a close, but first, Rhonda's going to jump back in here again. She's one that orchestrated this whole thing. And Rhonda, how does it feel to know that we are coming to the conclusion of 90 minutes of intuition and the Women Gone Wild book launch is winding down? How does it feel to be here?
Well, I mean, it's amazing, right? Especially to sit here and listen. Like, we've been doing Barnes and Noble signings and all the authors get to speak. And I get to reconnect with why these women are in this book. And for anyone that's watching, like, imagine, being able to tap in and read these stories and align it with even your own personal values. So yeah, thank you for that, Rich, because it's like now we can really truly see within each other what we can also do. And that's really the mission of Women Gone Wild is, to inspire through story, because AI is getting very big. We all know it. However, the human connection, that's why I always say in marketing, because I own a branding and PR firm, I always zig when the world is zagging. And so I'm zigging back to connection, right? To human touch, stories, physical books, not just digital. And that, I think, is where we will hold not only the value of human connection, but truly our stories and how we've gotten there. Because the moment society starts disconnecting, then what happens? We just become something that's digital. The lives, the stories, the resilience that people put in to creation or to inspiring others starts to dissolve. So we're zigging. So if you are a zigger, go ahead and stream on this QR code, grab yourself a copy. It's going to help us hit our best-selling status, especially now this week. This is our test week, as our first test week. And that then allows us to say, okay, our book is doing really, really well. And we're going strong for USA Today bestseller and New York Times bestseller.
Well, and again, you've already done New York. You're now in Sarasota. Tonight, you are from 6:30 to 9 p.m. You're going to be at Barnes & Noble down in Sarasota, correct?
No, tonight we're at the wine bar, at the Siesta Key Wine Bar. It is a book signing and a charity event. And then on the 20th, we'll be in Tampa at 5 p.m. doing a signing. And then we hightail it on over to LA. And the 22nd, we're at the Quantum Spa. This is the tallest building in LA, and it is a quantum center. So it's a high frequency spa that's actually, we're doing a full wellness. All the women have mastermind. We're doing workshops. They're teaching in intuition, and we're going to be showcasing each other on the 22nd. And then we have an unbelievable signing at The Grove. It's the largest Barnes & Noble in LA. And we've got a big red carpet situation taking place there. It's at 7:00 at the Grove in LA.
Now, I wanted to ask you, you heard your daughter earlier.
Yeah.
What was it like to hear her step up and share what she shared about her upbringing, how you and your husband nurtured all this, but yet how she's become her own young lady woman? Mm-hmm. What was it like to hear her talk about that?
These are those moments where, you're so proud because you can never predict or control what your child becomes. The only thing that we can do as parents is to help create an environment that's not only safe for them to explore, but just guiding that way. And they get to take the direction that they choose. And obviously, we're very proud of Hanalei. She's done some amazing things. But one thing that I do respect about her is that she actually leaned into her own intuition. And when it was time, she said, I don't think I want to do this anymore, right? Because at a young age, at 11, she's being flown around the world. She's running a 6-figure fashion brand. She was offered a $30 million opportunity, and she turned it down because her values were so set and strong. And then to see her at 13 to say, I'm making my own decision of where I want to go. And that to us is even more beautiful than her doing what she thought we wanted her to do, And so I appreciate you asking the questions and giving not only her the space, but I think it just shares with everyone what's really possible.
As we wind down here today, as you roll out the book 2 in your 4-book series, has it hit, surpassed, or just going over the top for you with the rollout of how everything's gone?
Oh, the authors are going to come behind me and
Yeah,
create some
please go
energy,
back in, ladies.
right?
And I'm going to
You
bring
know,
in some of the other onliners here as
yes,
well.
yeah,
There we go.
brilliant,
We
great.
get the whole party here.
I know
So
this is
how
just a
does-
small portion.
Yeah, again, you got 25 women involved in this book, spread all over the place. But how do you think this is going? Is this surpassing your expectations, or is it just taking you further and further?
Well, we have a big vision that I would like to see 88,000 women in a Coliseum sharing their wild story, right? That's our big vision. So we're getting there, right? We're getting there. Every step, every voice, every word we speak, I believe gets us closer because it's not about selling books. It's about inspiring lives. However, as an outcome of someone in ordering this book means that we get to bring our stories into their lives. And we just ask someone, get the book and pass it on, buy some for others, because Diana knows she's experienced, 589 million copies sold from Chicken Soup. And, right? It had nothing to do with the book. It was the lives that they changed. Right, Diana?
Right.
Fantastic. Ladies, give a big wave. Give them a hello. Give a big goodbye to the world here, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Wow, this has been a great 90-minute live stream event. We've been on multiple channels. And again, you do want to get a hold of this amazing book. It's got 25. We only had time to get about 8 squeezed in here. 25 different leaders, influencers, speakers, authors, and they give you great information. And it's all about intuition. And again, it's not woo-woo. It's not crazy. It actually, as you've heard here today, very helpful in your career, your life, your faith, in so many different areas. Better understanding and leveraging the power of intuition, listening to that voice, and moving forward. Scan that QR code. Make sure you get a copy of this. And hey, you never know. We may be back again for another book launch with these wild women. For now, I'm the Trigger, Rich Bontrager. Thanks for joining us here today. We look forward to seeing you next time for another Rock the Stage Media book launch party.